Man discovers item in his deceased grandfather's attic that could be worth millions. When a loved one passes away, it's not unusual for them to designate an executor to carry out their last wishes. It's not usually an exciting position, as it largely involves making sure the departed's will and estate have been taken care of. But it's very important nonetheless. When Karl Kissner's grandfather passed away, he was thrust into the position of executor of his estate. Karl knew that his grandfather had been a bit of a pack rat when he was alive, and he wasn't sure what he'd tucked away over the years. Karl resolved to look closely when it came time to examine the items in his attic, and what he found took his breath away. When Karl Kissner's grandfather passed away, he was appointed executor of his will and estate. Karl knew it was a huge responsibility because he would need to go through everything his grandfather owned to figure out what was worth keeping. Karl's grandfather had a reputation in their family as being a bit of a pack rat. Karl wanted to be as thorough as possible while he assessed what his grandfather had been keeping in the house, but it was going to be a big job. Even though Karl knew it was possible his grandfather may have had something valuable hidden in his home, he didn't think he'd end up finding something that would literally change his life. As Karl made his way through his grandfather's home, most of what he found consisted of old paperwork and documents. While he was digging through old coats and boxes, however, he came upon something that caught his eye. Karl found a curious stack of boxes, and he pulled them out into the open so he could get a better look at them. Some of them looked like they were full of junk and could be thrown out right away. But there was one that really seemed unique. He was going to save that box for last. Karl examined the rest of the items carefully. The largest thing he found was a steam trunk. He knew his grandfather enjoyed traveling, and the trunk would have certainly come in handy to carry the plethora of items he had stowed away in his home. Karl also came across an old board game called Uncle Wiggily's New Airplane Game. He remembered playing the game as a child, and that brief feeling of nostalgia made the whole afternoon worthwhile. After he was done looking through the attic, it was time to finally open up the box that really had him interested. He was shocked when he looked inside and saw rows of baseball cards. These weren't the kind you'd want to stick in the spokes of your bicycle, though. These cards were extremely old, but they were in mint condition. Karl knew that players like Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig would have brought in big bucks, and there weren't any of those names in the collection, but there were others Karl recognized that just may have led to a lucrative payday. He recognized names such as Cy Young, Ty Cobb, and Honus Wagner. These guys were also legends during the earliest days of baseball. The cards had to be worth something, right? Karl had heard stories of people who made a fortune cashing in on rare baseball cards. One Tennessee man found cards from the mid-1900s in his uncle's attic, and they were estimated to be worth over $1 million. Could Karl's find possibly have been worth even more? Karl was in awe that such an incredible collection had been buried in an attic for so long. He didn't even know his grandfather liked baseball. He knew he needed to have the cards appraised immediately. Karl brought the entire collection to an appraiser in Dallas, Texas. He was excited, but he didn't want to get his hopes up in case the cards weren't as rare as he imagined. However, when he was finally told their price, his jaw hit the floor. The collection was appraised at $3 million. The appraiser handling the sale of the cards through Heritage Auction said that it was the most significant find in the history of the hobby. Not bad for an afternoon's work. As amazing as Karl's discovery was, though, he's just one of the many people who found rare items worth a fortune. During the remodeling of a home in Minnesota in 2013, a man found a rare comic book from 1938 containing Superman's first ever appearance. It was one of 100 copies known to exist, and it sold for $175,000 at auction. This was incredible, but the next discovery actually took its finder back in American history. In 1989, a man from Pennsylvania purchased a picture with a frame around it for $4. And when he removed the picture, he found an original copy of the Declaration of Independence. He sold the document for $2.4 million at an auction. This has to be the most historically significant find ever, right? Well, think again. At the Union College Library in Schenectady, New York, someone was flipping through an old almanac that hadn't been touched in years when they came across a lock of hair tucked in between the pages inside an envelope. Who'd that hair belong to? None other than our first president, George Washington. Art enthusiasts would give anything to discover this painting. In 2015, a truck driver named Terry Horton bought a piece of art from a thrift store for $5 that many experts believe to be an original Jackson Pollock. She was offered $2 million for the painting, but she decided to hold out for more. An original copy of the Norman Rockwell painting, Breaking Family Ties, was discovered behind a false wall in a home during renovations. This picture was featured on the cover of the Saturday Evening Post in 1954, and it was estimated to be worth $5 million. Can you imagine accidentally coming across something so valuable? Watch the news segment here featuring Karl Kissner's baseball card discovery. It's sure to make you want to do some investigating of your own.